I wish you bluebirds in the spring to give your heart a song to sing and then a kiss. But more than this, I wish you love. And in July, a lemonade to cool you in some leafy glade. I wish you health and more than wealth. I wish you love. My aching heart and I agree that you and I could never be. So with my best, my very best, I set you free. I wish you shelter from the storm, a cozy fire to keep you warm. But most of all, when snowflakes fall, I wish you love.
Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for bringing all of your energy and your positivity to this exciting night. We're excited to celebrate this big milestone for the Idaho Nonprofit Center. I'm Emily Border. I'm the current chair of the Idaho Nonprofit Center, board chair, and tonight I just wanted to give you a sense of these next 45 minutes. We'll be doing a showcase of Idaho Nonprofit Center's mission moments, and you'll be hearing from nonprofit professionals that have, been strengthened by INC's programs and just our support in big ways and smaller ways. So there's been a lot of effort put into that. I think you'll enjoy it. I also just wanted to, as I was thinking, I've been on this board for 6.5 years, and when I look back at the ways in which the INC has touched my life and what my experience has been, and as I'm rounding it off and handing the baton over to a new board chair, which is a very exciting thing to do, the INC, I was hooked originally because it was the intersection of nonprofits and government and business. And that was similar to my background as a firefighter with the U.S. Forest Service and then the Department of Interior, and then working with the Peregrine Fund with my husband as a part of their biology program, and now working on the business side. And I thought, there's so many things that we need to do as a unifying effort, and INC really has been that unifying force for good, and it's exciting to see that work is continuing, and I'm just very grateful to be part of that work, and I'm very grateful that all of you can be a part of that work in the way that you are able to contribute. So with that, I think that the sector has a really bright future, and I think the INC is making that brighter. And we have a bright new chapter as well with our new CEO, Kevin Bailey, and I think there's a lot to look forward to with him. So without further ado, I'll hand the mic over to you, and we can take it away.
All right, welcome everybody. It's really exciting that we're able to gather. This actually feels like an INC wedding almost. I guess we're getting married to year 21, so we'll cheers to that. We're finally legally able to drink as an organization. I think that's in our bylaws. Thank you so much, Emily. It was just a real privilege to step into this role at such an important time in the Idaho Nonprofit Center's history. I really can't thank our board and our previous CEO. Many of you know her, Amy Little. We'll get to hear from her a little bit later. She sent a video message. She's actually in Montana for work. And all those leaders that came before her as well, for their example and their leadership in bringing the center to where it is today at its 20th anniversary. We'll also get a chance tonight to hear from some of our founding partners who were instrumental in creating the vision for what the center would become. If there's one thing that's been clear to me during the first 5 months, it's crazy it's already been 5 months during my time as CEO, it's that the Idaho Nonprofit Center has a role in our state that is as important as it's ever been. At the heart of what we do is ensuring that nonprofits have the tools, the education, and the voice that they need in order to be successful. So it's a really weighty mission. I think about that a lot. It gives me a lot of purpose to wake up every day and have such an important mission that represents the whole state, so I don't take it lightly. When I think about the impact of nonprofits on local communities around our state, I always say that you really can't walk more than a block without coming across the impact of a nonprofit. From the arts organizations that create meaningful opportunities for entertainment and culture, to the organizations that provide childcare and educate our kids, to the programs and partnerships that help create economic opportunity in our local communities, the impact of nonprofits really is all around us. And actually, we're sitting here and eating in a nonprofit's facility itself, the Coalition for Domestic Violence, who has their offices in this building, and you are all part of their revenue stream and helping support them. So pat yourself on the back for that. I'm glad we're able to keep that nonprofit economy as a closed loop tonight. I hope you all leave tonight with a sense of the impact the sector has on our state, as well as a renewed sense of why the Idaho Nonprofit Center is so important for lifting up our sector across the state and providing leadership into the next 20-year chapter. So with that, let's take a look at the history of the center and some of the voices that helped shape our earlier days. Kevin Bailey, our new CEO of the Idaho Nonprofit Center. I'm really excited to be in this role. I am really looking forward to our next chapter, the next 20 years of the Idaho Nonprofit Center, and to build on the great history and legacy of those that have come before me and all of our great members and nonprofit organizations across the state.
We needed to support nonprofit organizations throughout the state, but we also needed to play at the sector level. We needed to strengthen the nonprofit sector in Idaho. And to me, that meant that we needed to operate at a level that supported the sector with state government, with local officials, with business leaders and all that. That was really important for us to be a strong, vibrant part of our economy. So one of the very first things we did to that end is to create the first ever nonprofit economic impact report.
I feel like you guys have just kind of grown so much and over the years that I've been working with McPaws and seeing you guys expand your role and really bump up the resources that you offer to nonprofit organizations. So that's been really cool.
They have been providing us for years services and training as we do nonprofit.
The Idaho Nonprofit Center has been a very useful tool for us. We're a new nonprofit. Again, we're pretty young. We're just over a year old. We have 7 board members. I had never started a nonprofit. My sister had never started a nonprofit. And I'm the only person on our team who had worked consistently for or with nonprofits. And so having an organization like the Idaho Nonprofit Center in Idaho, like understanding the rules, the regulations, how to do things, how to have a board. So being able to have this incredible like source for tools and information has been huge for us as a new nonprofit, trying to make sure that we do things right, whether it's the 501c3 form or what a board should look like and what their role is, what my role is as an executive director.
When I think about a relationship with INC, I think of it as a friend. You know, with anything good, you get out what you put in.
One of the things that really surprised me, I had to, when I got the job, this is typical me, I got the job and then had to figure out, well, what is it? What am I supposed to do here? And I had to really think about, what is the point of nonprofits? Why do we have nonprofits? And I came to an understanding of in thinking about the place of all of these different entities in this way. I decided that, you know, government has a role to make things fair and equitable. You know, for-profit organizations, you know, have a responsibility to create shareholders' wealth. But nonprofits, our role is to make change happen. And I really embrace that idea that we are a triangle with these other organizations, and we have to figure out, how do we allow, you know, people in the for-profit world to contribute. But if we're not equal with them, if we're not stepped up to the plate, and if we aren't actively engaged in making change happen, it's not going to happen. So that was what inspired me every day, to recognize that we had this important role to play. And in Idaho in particular, we hadn't been playing much of that role. And it was important for us to recognize and really drive the contributions that we could make.
All right, so we learned a little bit about our history. Before we proceed further with the program, we have to thank a few sponsors. We wouldn't be here tonight without our sponsors, shown behind me here on the screen. I had the pleasure of working with Misty when I was the CEO at the United Way of Southeastern Idaho, and the lab is just a tremendous nonprofit partner, and really a nonprofit themselves in terms of the way that they support the community. Our media sponsor is Totally Boise, and as you came in, there's a winter magazine there, and we're featured along with a couple other nonprofits in that, so check that out. Our gold sponsor is Idaho Community Foundation. We'll be talking a little bit about them later. Our production sponsor is Tree Fan Events. Thank you, Anka. She's working hard with the headphones on. Our bronze sponsors, First Interstate Bank, Auction Frogs. The auction that we're doing tonight is on Auction Frogs. They have a really awesome platform to help nonprofits raise money. And the music is by the Morrison Center. I think they disappeared to eat, but they are fantastic. And thank you to all the event sponsors and table sponsors spread around. We couldn't do this without you. Let's give them a hand. So it takes a village to run a nonprofit, truly, and in this case, it takes a whole state to run a nonprofit. We do have some people watching on live stream, board members who are as far away as Lewiston and Coeur d'Alene and others around the state. But I'd like to recognize our current board of directors and our staff. If you are in attendance, please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. We have our staff scattered around, making sure that I don't screw up. And we also have a number of board members and supporters who are joining us virtually, as I mentioned, and thank you so much for joining us tonight from wherever you are. Finally, I'd like to recognize and thank those that helped to build our organization over the years. The center would not be where it is today without your hard work. Former CEO, as I mentioned, Amy Little, is one such individual, and although she couldn't be here tonight because she's in Montana for a work event and work training, she did send this video message to us, so let's hear from Amy.
Big congratulations for 20 years. What an amazing celebration for the Idaho Nonprofit Center and all the nonprofits in Idaho that the organization supports. My sincerest apologies that I'm unable to attend this amazing milestone event in person. I'm actually in Missoula, Montana this week, training for my new role. Best wishes to all of you for an amazing 20 years. Cheers to 20 more. And then some. Best of luck. Love watching from the sidelines. So proud of the work that we did and proud of all the work that you continue to do. So thank you so much.
I have to say, Amy made my life a million times easier. Sometimes when there's an executive transition in a nonprofit, especially one with only 5 or 6 or 7 staff, it can be very challenging. But Amy and then Sheila, our interim CEO, who helped hire me, this was the easiest job to come into. And then, of course, our amazing staff. I'd also like past board members or folks who were involved in our founding in some way, or past staff, if you're here, please stand. Let's give them a hand. At the Idaho Nonprofit Center, we like to say that we educate, advocate, and collaborate for stronger nonprofits. So let's take a look next at the educate portion of our work at the center, which is so core to ensuring that nonprofits of all sizes in every community of Idaho have the learning and training resources they need to successfully grow their organizations.
When I first came on, we didn't really have any training per se. And so we had to figure out, how do we get training? But more importantly, how do we get training to all parts of the state? So we launched a pretty big initiative to go around the state and to bring training to nonprofit organizations. And so that was a great way for us to reach out and make sure that all nonprofits in the state felt included and heard, and that we were addressing the issues that they really needed us to help them with.
The regional trainings and networking, you see that in a lot of organizations and a lot of opportunities for different trainings. But the nice thing about the Idaho Nonprofit Center is they understand nonprofits, they are Idaho, and both of those things are really unique to any training that you're going to get out there.
And I really reached out trying to attend a conference that would really help grow and learn more. Because we are kind of up here in the north and we didn't have any conferences happening. So I attended my first one in Coeur d'Alene and felt really included, and it was exciting, and learning more about other nonprofits and that they were going through the same things I was going through. So we worked together and got my organization all signed up. And so after that, I attended the one that was in Boise the first year for me. And I realized it wasn't just for me. It wasn't just for the development and the fundraisers. It was really for the CEOs, board members. When you started doing online classes, those, I mean, you guys always had those, but however, during the pandemic, they became really essential for us nonprofits that were not leaving our homes or our businesses. There was a lot of webcasts and Zooms that we were participating in that actually helped us grow during our kind of troubling times and what was happening in the industry. And so that was really helpful.
I've had a couple of really good experiences with the board chair boot camp trainings that you guys offer. Those, especially, we did one this year. It was because of COVID, it was online. There's so many resources out there and so many different opinions and all these different things. And so it's nice to have a kind of a trusted resource where we can go.
The Idaho Nonprofit Center has really been a great resource for volunteer managers. So through their regional conference, statewide conference, and the fact that they have 2 conferences every year to really help nonprofit organizations to continue moving forward, to collaborate, to ensure that their staff get that professional development.
About 8 years ago, I used to be in the high-tech industry. And so jumping over to nonprofit was quite a switch from business for profit to business for nonprofit. And so one of the first things I did was to look out and see if there would be other people who could help with training and help with equipping me to be an effective leader for a nonprofit. And Idaho Nonprofit did exactly that for us.
So I actually had the pleasure of attending a lot of those trainings when I was back at United Way of Southeastern Idaho, and so can speak directly to the value that provides organizations all across the state. So over the years, the Idaho Nonprofit Center has experienced really amazing growth in terms of the number and types of training programs offered to nonprofits across the state. Annually, our trainings impact over 2,500 nonprofit professionals. This past fall, we had a record attendance at our statewide conference with 400 plus participants joining us throughout the week. Another outstanding program, which I've really appreciated as a participant, and now I get to see the other side of it, is our board chair and board member boot camp, which continues to be an in-demand signature program for us. In my opinion, ensuring that a board and CEO are working in partnership is really so crucial to the success of any organization. It's one of the driving factors, in my opinion, between nonprofits that are thriving, stagnating, or even, unfortunately, failing, is that board-CEO partnership. And I was really, really privileged to walk into a great board chair situation, so great job, Emily, and your leadership has been fantastic. And Tricia, who we'll hear from later on, is taking the reins in January, so thanks, guys. Finally, Idaho Gives, which you all know about, continues to grow as the state's largest multi-day giving event, collecting nearly $3.9 million in contributions for 600 plus nonprofits across the state and from 16,000 donors from Idaho and even from all over the world. This morning, we were talking about Idaho Gives, and there's a prize that an organization can win for having the donation from farthest away, from a bank account that's registered farthest away. And apparently it's Perth, Australia. So I thought my friend in the Philippines might win it for us last year when I was at United Way, but I guess not. So Perth, Australia, find your Australian friends. As the needs of nonprofits change, our programs will continue to adapt for a changing sector. As we all know, we've been through a lot in the last 2 years, and we've adapted, having virtual events. Even this event is both in-person and virtual, which we would have never known how to do had we not just gone through this. In some ways, it's made our organization more resilient, more able to reach the whole state and really fulfill our mission. So maybe a little bit of a silver lining there. I'm really excited for us to rise up to that challenge as nonprofits nimbly adapt to this new operating environment and for new growth opportunities. Our programs would not be possible without generous funders and sponsors who help us keep costs low and accessible to nonprofits of all sizes. Idaho has thousands of nonprofits. The majority are very small nonprofits, and it's really key that they can access those programs and trainings for minimal cost. So these are underwritten by many generous folks across the community and across the state. Bear with me, this is a little bit of a long list, but we really need to recognize the contribution that they make to bettering the nonprofit sector. So Idaho Central Credit Union, George and Bev Herod, AJ and Susie Belukov, the Idaho National Lab, Regents, Harris CPAs, Wells Fargo, Fluor Idaho, the Idaho Community Foundation, Innovia Foundation, First Interstate Bank Foundation, JP Morgan Chase, and the MJ Murdoch Charitable Trust, as well as many, many others and other individuals and families who support our work. So thank you so much. Next, we'll hear about the third pillar, the role of advocacy, and our role in creating a statewide voice for nonprofits. And we'll see how that plays out as really a core part of our mission and a core part of our next step as an organization as we go into this next chapter.
I had heard of this little thing happening in Minnesota called, I think it's called Give Big or something. Anyways, whatever the Minnesota day is, they had a day-long giving campaign. And we looked at that and we said, we want that. That's what we want to do. So this was launched in 2013. And that seems not that long ago, but it still was a time where many nonprofits did not have social media understanding or presence. The whole point of this Idaho Gives was to get nonprofits to engage with new donors.
We have participated in Idaho Gives as far as I know, like every single year since it started. And that has been lovely to see that event grow over the years. You know, it was kind of like an eye opener for us where we always thought that like to have a fundraising event, it had to be like this big production. It was in person and it had to have a venue and all these activities. And And it's really lovely to just know that like, oh, we can just do this 100% online. It's not just one organization doing the event, right? It's statewide day of giving.
One of my favorite events was Idaho Gives of 2019. When we weren't at a specific location, we were kind of in different locations, and then we ended the night at Lost Grove, and we had a ton of people out there. There were nonprofits there. It was just a huge party. But we reached our goal at like 11 o'clock that night. It was awesome to see the whole community come together.
COVID has taught us that as nonprofits, we need to pivot quickly. We all have changed the way that we do business across the sector, and it's been really inspiring to see. And I think it's taught us a lesson at the Idaho Nonprofit Center as well about how we can better meet the needs of our hugely diverse sector across a very diverse geography, and provide services, trainings, programs, advocacy that meets the needs in each local community.
And I think it was great too that a lot of the funders of the INC and around the valley were shifting all of their funding instead of in-person events to really COVID funding. How can we support your organization as you're moving forward, because we want you to stay in business during this trying time?
INC was really an early adopter in 2020 and put out a public statement in support of diversity, equity, inclusion, and racial justice work. The staff and board completed the WASMS Center's Human Rights Certification, and the staff very quickly put together an educational webinar series for the Idaho nonprofits, which I think was really important and met a need. And I feel strongly that our society is better off if people are treated with respect and dignity and offered resources to succeed.
I got involved with the Idaho Nonprofit Center because someone from the center reached out to me and said, like, hey, we're really interested in what you're doing. And we want to know how we can collaborate with your organization. The other way I found out about the center was when we started Inclusive Idaho. We're about 14 months old now, so we're a pretty new nonprofit. Several folks said to us, like, hey, if you're not hooked up with the Idaho Nonprofit Center, you need to be. And so it was on my radar, but when I made the connection, and we were able to just start to collaborate together. We're a nonprofit working to build inclusion in Idaho, but we're also led and founded by Black folks. And so that looks a lot different than some of the nonprofits who work in the same vein that we do. And being able, the Idaho Nonprofit Center recognizing that and asking us to come in and work with them and present at some of their conferences or sessions has given us visibility to greater Idaho community in the work that we do.
I'm really excited, I think, about the growth of the Idaho Nonprofit Center in terms of the programs and services and advocacy that we can do for our sector. I think I've grown up in the nonprofit world throughout my career in the education sector, and I think, you know, the ability to tell the story of the work that we do, we've never seen it be more powerful than throughout the pandemic. And our sector rose up to meet the needs when nobody else could. And I think that's a story worth telling. It's worth telling, you know, just how great nonprofits make our local communities across the state. What makes it a great place to live is the arts, the animals, the conservation, the food banks that come together, the programs that shelter folks, find housing for folks, that educate our children. Nonprofits do it all. We all know that, but we don't often tell that story enough. And that's one thing I really want to make central to the Idaho Nonprofit Center is really being your voice, understanding your needs, and getting out to let people know the good work that's going on in our sector. All right, so we heard in the last video why it is so important for us to really be a voice for the sector in our state. Our 750 plus nonprofit members are really core to who we are as a membership organization. Exactly 10 years ago, we should have had a prize for this. Exactly 10 years ago, we had 289 members, and today, as I mentioned, we have over 750 member nonprofits across the state. Nearly tripling. I think that really tripling our membership and growing that membership as a priority over the past 10 years has allowed us to really grow into being that voice for the sector, and I think that's really, really important for our mission. As it relates to our advocacy work, one of my main focuses will be on ensuring that our federal, state, and local decision makers and elected officials know the impact and the needs of the nonprofits in their communities, whether it is advocating for increased charitable giving incentives in the tax code. I know that's super exciting, right? Probably have some CPAs in here who are fired up about that. Or ensuring that nonprofits have access to and are eligible for federal COVID relief funds. That's a little more exciting. Our job is to continually remind our elected officials that nonprofits are at the foundation of what makes our local communities great. And I think I've learned in these 5 months, and I knew this from my previous role, but really getting into the details of things like the employee retention tax credit. Again, as boring as that sounds, we have our friends at Harris CPAs, where are they? Right there, who are going to do a webinar for our members next month to help nonprofits claim that tax credit, which can be the difference between retaining staff and having to let staff go. So that's really, central to our role. As boring as that stuff sounds, it's really key. When I talk to elected officials, they are often surprised that nonprofits employ around 65,000 Idahoans, and that the sector is the 6th largest by employment in the private sector. Our work not only supports the impact that nonprofits have on their communities, but it also supports the nonprofit workforce that is a huge driver of employment and solid career-sustaining jobs in driving that local economy and communities all over our state. Raising the profile of nonprofits in our state through advocacy and programs like Idaho Gives is one way to ensure that nonprofits continue thriving in Idaho. And as we continue raising the profile of nonprofits across the state, we see more and more opportunities for some wonderful collaborations, which is really what I get most excited about in the sector. I think this sector has such an opportunity, and we've done it over the last 2 years, and there's been great examples even before that of collective impact and of collaboration that really solves complex issues that we're dealing with in our communities, like access to healthcare, housing, and more. So let's hear more about what collaboration means to the Idaho Nonprofit Center today.
The Idaho Nonprofit Center does a great job of working on all the aspects of the nonprofit world, and we really appreciate that there's a go-to spot, and they're trying to always constantly ask us, especially in the rural outlying areas, what do you guys want to know about? What can we do? How can we bring you together? And so I've really appreciated that. I do work for a very strong nonprofit. However, there's a lot that are struggling. And so I feel like sometimes I'm the glue, and all I do is point them in the direction of the Idaho Nonprofit Center. I'm like, go check it out.
I think one of the exciting parts about this role is really getting to work with our donors, our members, of course, the 700 plus across the state, our corporate partners, the foundations that support our work. And we couldn't have made it this far after 20 years without all of those folks really bought into our mission, and really just thank you. We can't do the work without you.
One of the things that's been really beneficial to us is the partnerships that have been established with community foundations and other funders. We work primarily in collaborations and funding. So those collaborations have been really important. And I think this past year, through COVID, seeing the Idaho Nonprofit Center, the Idaho Community Foundation come together along with other United Ways to really step up and make an impact was really something that was great to see. And I think that couldn't have been done if it weren't for the existing relationships that were already there.
The Idaho Nonprofit Center and Serve Idaho collaborate together a lot. Again, on the regional conference, statewide conference, and Philanthropy Day. And so what that means is that the INC provides staff time to us. So, we have a lot of meetings, we serve on the committees together. We really, distribute the different, tasks and activities it takes to put together these great events. And so the staff are instrumental in the collaboration.
If you haven't been involved with the Idaho Nonprofit, or you're considering getting involved with the Idaho Nonprofit, I strongly recommend it, because no matter what your level as a CEO, you need relationships. Our people that we're serving need us to have relationships with each other, to work together to care for the people in this community. And Idaho Nonprofit is that hub that will allow not only us to have training no matter what our level, but also to have relationships with each other because at the end of the day, if we know each other and we're caring for each other and we're supporting each other in hard work and those hard days, then we're all able to be more effective and to serve the state with all the great work that we're doing together.
The Idaho Nonprofit Center is a really valuable resource for all the nonprofits in the state of Idaho, and it brings people together and supports collaboration and has been really important over the last couple of years in supporting organizations with information and how to respond to the pandemic and what to do and what financial support's been available. So I think the Idaho Nonprofit Center is just really well suited and placed to provide significant support to organizations throughout the state.
Once we started a relationship with the Idaho Nonprofit Center, they were able to see the work that we do. And one of our pathways, we have four main pathways, and one of those pathways is diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, and access, training, webinars, workshops. And so the center has come to us several times and said, like, hey, can you be a part of this? Do you feel equipped to lead or teach in this space? And we've been able to do that at the regional conference, and we'll also be doing that at the state conference in a couple weeks.
By kind of easing people in or providing opportunities for nonprofits to interact with us and interact with our training, that helped us build to bigger programs where we did day-long, sometimes even 2-day-long programs in North Idaho and Eastern Idaho and different parts of the state. And of course, we really built up our conference. Our annual conference was something that we felt was a critical component to gathering people in one spot. And you know when you get nonprofit leaders together, there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of engagement, and a lot of learning that goes on. And that was a really important part of our strategy as well.
All right, so the success of the Idaho Nonprofit Center obviously hasn't happened in a vacuum, and our 20-year track record is due in no small part to the cadre of partners who have supported us and lifted up our work for many years. I want to highlight 3 partners in particular who have been really instrumental in our mission and in our success. First, the MJ Murdoch Charitable Trust. The trust has made a specific commitment to support state associations of nonprofits, of which we are one, like the Idaho Nonprofit Center, along with our sister organizations in the Pacific Northwest. We would not be where we are today without the Trust's support. Secondly, Serve Idaho, which is part of the Governor's Commission on Service. It seems obvious that an organization like the Center should partner with an organization that is focused on building and promoting volunteer capacity and service in our state. So it's such a great partnership that Serve Idaho has amplified our mission in so many important ways, but especially through our partnership on Idaho Philanthropy Day, recognizing outstanding nonprofits, volunteers, and philanthropists all across the state. Finally, the third partner that I want to highlight is the Idaho Community Foundation, which has been such a key statewide partner and a great model of a statewide organization. Effective nonprofits grow because donors recognize the value of that nonprofit's work and mission. As we help strengthen the operations and the governance of nonprofits across the state, the Idaho Community Foundation plays a central role in promoting philanthropic giving to enrich the quality of life throughout Idaho and ensure that nonprofits have the financial resources they need to be successful. So let's give those partners a big hand. All right, we're getting to the end where I stop talking. As we approach the end, we have one more short video that I really enjoy that really sums up what the Idaho Nonprofit Center is all about. After the video, I'll turn it over to our incoming board chair, Tricia Swartling, who is the CEO of the Advocates in the Wood River Valley, and she'll close out our program. I really just personally want to thank each and every one of you for your support of the Idaho Nonprofit Center over the years. And again, a special shout out and thank you to past board members, staff, executive directors, as well as the current staff and board members who have carried us to this 20-year milestone. It really is such a great organization. Our board is professional, they're engaged. Our staff, this is really the easiest job that I've ever had because our staff is so talented. I literally had nothing to do with this tonight. I just have a script to read. So let's give a big hand to all those folks, and especially our staff. It's really an honor for me to carry forward what you all have started. And with that, let's roll the final video, and then we'll turn it over to Tricia. Our mission at the Idaho Nonprofit Center is to educate, advocate, and collaborate for stronger nonprofits across the state of Idaho. We really do that by partnering with over 750 of our members across the state, from North Idaho all the way to East Idaho, providing programs and training and advocacy to really strengthen everything that they do in their local communities.
You know, I don't think that there's any area of Idaho nonprofit programs that hasn't benefited us.
To have an agency that can provide trainings on leadership, trainings on fundraising, quite a number of really critical actually programs that support capacity building.
We're really here to kind of support and grow the nonprofits themselves. We like to say we're the helpers of the helpers.
There are thousands of nonprofits throughout the state of Idaho, and they focus on so many different things. The Idaho Nonprofit Center really helps our communities because they give back to all of these nonprofits that give so much to our state.
I kind of think of a nonprofit center as a boat. If they weren't there, we would all kind of be struggling. We'd be treading water, we'd be going in different directions, but they keep us on course and keep us informed and keep us educated.
Idaho Nonprofit being a connector and a convener, that helps to know exactly who's who and how people can actually collaborate.
20 years ago, a group of individuals from here in Idaho got together and really asked themselves why there wasn't one entity in the state to really help strengthen nonprofits, to help organize, to help them with board effectiveness, with fundraising, with connections to the government and business sector.
It really was sort of a fundamental mind shift, I think, for a lot of us who had never considered the fact that a sector like the nonprofit sector is powerful together. The role of the Idaho Nonprofit Center as coach, leader, bringing the nonprofit sector to a place of better understanding of how to use their voice is incredibly powerful.
Here we are 20 years later, and we've grown quite a bit from that initial idea and continue to strengthen and advocate for all nonprofits across the state.
It's hard. You're the one at the top and it all sits right here. And if I didn't have the Idaho Nonprofit Center to lean back on and say, hey, help, I'd be a lone duck out here.
That's what the Idaho Nonprofit Center is here to do, is to kind of help guide nonprofit leaders through those challenges.
I love the conferences where we can learn from organizations in the biggest communities and the smallest communities.
It's a way to touch all the nonprofits through one entity. You can give to the Idaho Nonprofit Center, and their work touches so many different nonprofits throughout the entire state.
Each individual nonprofit organization has a tremendous amount of work to do, and if we can all do that together, there is so much hope, actually.
Thank you to all the nonprofits for everything that you do. We love you.
I have to say that I'm so thankful that the Idaho Nonprofit Center is in existence and has continued to grow across the state, and that they're willing partners.
We're so grateful for the Idaho Nonprofit Center.
Idaho Nonprofit Center rocks!
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight. It's been fabulous to see you all here and supporting the organization. I'm looking forward to my role as the incoming chair. I have to give Emily Border a huge thank you for the job she's done over the last year. And tonight's kind of interesting because it's the first time I've met some of our board members because we've been meeting remotely. So there's been a few people that I have never met. So it's been nice that we've been able to gather together. This is the first event of this type that the Idaho Nonprofit Center has ever had, in my knowledge. So it's been great to have you all here to support us. I've been a member of the Idaho Nonprofit Center for the whole 20 years through my organization. So I've seen it evolve and change over the years. And now is a really pivotal time for you all to get engaged if you aren't engaged already. Under Kevin's leadership, I think we're looking at, it's a very pivotal time. The board and staff are engaged in strategic planning right now, and we'll be developing a new plan in February. And there are some really great ideas that we are considering, and I think you'll be really excited when we launch the plan and see the work that we're doing. So we'll be reaching new heights, and I think we'll be raising the status of the nonprofit sector in Idaho higher than it even is now. So I'm very excited for that to happen. So it's the giving season, we all know, and you have on your table in front of you some information about giving to the Idaho Nonprofit Center, and I ask you to join me in supporting the organization. Please take the information home, and when you go through your stack of requests from all the organizations in the state, think about the Idaho Nonprofit Center and write a check, big or small. We'll take anything. So thank you for that. Your support helps us keep programs and events affordable for all of the organizations in the state, and that's really important. I also want to thank our 20th anniversary program sponsors, and our closing champagne toast is sponsored by the United Way of the Treasure Valley. Thank you, Nora. And for being in our videos, you were great. So raise your glass to the Idaho Nonprofit Center, to a great 20 years and to a great 20 more years. Cheers. This concludes our formal program. Again, thank you, and please feel free to stay and socialize.
you.